to Between a Hot Mess and a Therapist, your not so typical self-help podcast for therapists, healers, and helpers. I'm your host, Shauna Lovin, a seasoned therapist with a rebellious spirit. This season, we are redefining freedom, fulfillment, and stability without burning out, self-doubt, or playing by the rules of a broken system. We are cutting through the noise and exploring what it means to truly live life on your terms, not by what society expects of us. No more chasing an illusion of success that leaves you drained, because we are embracing the beautiful messiness, the sometimes chaotic journey we call life. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfy, and let's dive in. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Between a Hot Mess and a Therapist. Okay, so today's episode is really going to be about the biggest question I think I get from all kind of people, not just therapists, but healers and helpers as well. We get in this place where we understand all the things that we should be doing, especially when it comes to self-care to manage burnout. But then we forget what is the practical application. And the question is, how do you apply the things that you've been learning when the system is actually broken? Because I know when I left grad school, I felt so unprepared. Like I didn't realize the emotional weight or the guilt, not just burnout, but like just feeling overwhelmed and pressure, and really didn't understand that the system was broken until one, I got licensed, two, had been licensed a while, and then three, when I really started working with associates, and they were, there's a time span that happens between the time that I graduate and the time that now that I'm working with associates, and the transition that happens is when I started to realize that our system that we work in and operate from is broken. So I just wanted to kind of come in and talk about like what were some things that I did to kind of move around in this broken system and not feel so overwhelmed or burnt out or just like all the things. So that's kind of what this episode's about. So let's just first start off and understand that many of us feel like we're not just burned out, or we become burnt out because we're underpaid, we're overworked, and we just start to question everything that we do. And how is that really fair to us as a human being? Because it's not. It's like fucking exhausting to be in these two worlds, one that requires so much of us, and then the other one where we can barely feel like that we can get up in the morning because we're just so tired and exhausted. And the other piece is like, we want to be in a space where we are not just surviving, we want to be thriving, not just as a human, but as a professional as well. We want to be able to trust ourselves, and we can't do that. And it makes it really hard to do that in a broken system. And so we oftentimes get like caught up, because I've been there too, where you have this like picture perfect feed on Facebook and Instagram or whoever, and you're out here flexing your degrees like, it's like freaking candy. And you just think like this plan that you created that's all like glittered up and it looks good on paper, it's full of shit. Because when you go through the process of going through graduate school and then coming out and coming into the real world, it is not the same. Whatever the fuck that they told you in grad school, it's bullshit. So if you feel like you're in this ideal space, ideal of anything, I don't care. This is not the space for you. This like being in the therapy or helping profession is not the space for you, because there's nothing ideal or real or what we thought it was supposed to be. It ain't it. It's not it. It's funny because my son has been watching this show called The Rookie. We know it's an old show, but it's on Disney. So he's been watching The Rookie, and it's about, policing in LA, which is where I grew up, which is funny. And it's all glamorized. And it's like, that is not what real work as a helper looks like. It's just not. It's actually kind of entertaining more than anything. So I'm just going to put this call out there that you know who you are. You are going to be a doer, a fixer. You're an overthinking, people-pleasing perfectionist. You know who you are. And I'm just going to say that the box that you were prescribed to live in and the hustle that you were given is not working for you. You need to change that. You need to do something different, because if you're trying to seek freedom in any kind of way, freedom is not there. It is not in that box. It is not in the hustle. Freedom only comes like when we decide to like break free and we like clear the clutter and we decide to say like, hell no. Like when we start doing those things and stop living in the box that they gave us, then we can try to achieve whatever level of freedom is good for us. Remember, what things look like for you and what you want is going to be different from what the next person wants. So before we go into like, here are the exact things that I did in order to kind of step away, you have to first understand these 3 principles, because this is, I think, the basis of things. And so first you have to get really honest with, what do you want as a person, as a human being, as whatever your profession is? Like, what do you want? Because this is not about meeting other people's expectations, not family, not work, especially not hell damn society, because what they feel is success and making it is not it either. We also have to think about, this is not about legacy or adding labels or any of that. It's just about what is important to you as a person, and what are you wanting out of life, and what do you want your life to look like? And so what I encourage you to do is take a few minutes and write that list and keep it close to your heart. Guard it like it's a secret, because ultimately, this becomes your true north. When you get lost and you start looking at the shiny objects, you're going to come back to this and you're going to think about like, oh, this is what I really want. One of the things, if you ask me, I would say would be a FIRE lifestyle. And if you've never heard of that, that is a financially independent, retire early. Now, I don't really know about retiring early, because it's pretty cool to be a therapist and kind of work when you want to work anyway. But there's some other aspects where that could come in. And so that is what I want. So everything that I do and everything that my husband does, what we work towards is that right there, that. The second principle that I think you have to understand is that you always have to show up for yourself. Showing up should become non-negotiable. This is not just like, hey, I'm waiting for the weekend to do my self-care and do the things that I want to do. Fuck no. You need to do that every day. You need to figure out what is one thing you can do every day, even if it's just 5 minutes, or if you got a whole fucking hour. Just what is something you're going to do for yourself, and be in that space, in that moment, and just make it a non-negotiable. And it's more about consistency than it is about these grand gestures and these grand routines, because we know the grand routines don't work. But just what is one non-negotiable thing that you can do for yourself? Okay, so the last principle is really just be flexible, because when we are in the rigid plans, we can't make progress. It's like we block ourselves, we create these mental blocks, and like we do all these things to ourselves, and it's crazy because we can help other people out of whatever is going on with them, but we just say like, what the hell? And we can't do it for ourselves. And I think we're horrible at taking our own advice. But when you become flexible, you can evolve as your space evolves. You can change course. You can Still mess up because that's okay, but it's still like gives yourself like breathing room through the process of growing. So these are just three principles, I think, as we go into what exactly we should be doing in order to kind of really just find ourselves, be able to implement things today on not working harder, because it's not about that. It's not about being smarter or being anything else. It's really just about working smart, being aligned with your energy more than anything else, and trusting yourself as you go through this process. So if you need to grab a pen, I'm going to suggest that you do that because we're about to dive in real quick. So the first step that I would do, and what I have done, let me rephrase that, in order to, I guess, have more of a liberated frequency, is to break free of the fucking system. Like that's just the first step. So let me explain. We talk about this system all the time that we're working within, and we know that the system doesn't work well. We know that it's broken, and we know that it's not set up for us to thrive, and it's in a place where we're basically surviving, if you get paid well, but it's constantly leading to burnout and consistent sacrifices of just your well-being. This is why traditional self-care doesn't typically work for us. And because partly we understand like what we should be doing, but we're having trouble with, again, the practical application. There was never a blueprint, a guide, or anything on how to really create a sustainable career or path or whatever. It was never there. And then we're just told that we need to hustle harder and just sacrifice more. But that's not it. It's not what helps us be happy, content, satisfied, or in that just place of in between. It could be messy, but it's not that. That's not it. And so when you don't play by the rules because you've broken them, and of course, there are always rules to be broken. Some things that you might want to consider is, if you're playing by the rules, you're probably slowly in a place of burnout. Or the option is that you quit altogether. This is what happens when you stay within the system. And so the thing that I want to encourage you to do is decide in this moment right now that you're done, you're tired, you're going to burn whatever rule book that you're playing by, whatever terms and conditions. Whenever you decide to do that, that's when things are going to shift. That's when I think things shifted for me, is when I realized that the rules just aren't there. And why are we going by something that is like invisibly there? So think about the matriarch or the patriarch of the family, and they have those invisible rules that everybody knows about. You know, you don't cross them, you know, you don't deal with them, but you just dare not to do that. This is what I'm talking about. Like, you have to stop over explaining your boundaries and, think about like, what are you worth? I'm not going to say charge what you're worth, because that's an old framework within itself, but charge what energetically feels good to you. You're also going to have to create a business that works for you. We got to think therapy is a business too. We have to think about that. So here are some things that maybe I'm going to invite you to look at. What would happen if you stopped playing in the broken system? What if you created a business that was aligned with who you are, that was not toxic, not connected to the hustle culture? Like, what would that look like for you? Because in order to break free of the fucking system, you're going to have to make some decisions so that you can make the necessary pivots you need to help yourself. Okay. Moving on to the next thing. The next thing I did was nervous system regulation, because this became a super non-negotiable for me. Remember, I was just talking about that. And so for everyone, according to your energy, how your nervous system is regulated is going to look different. This is why, again, traditional self-care doesn't work for us. If you're living according to your energy, everyone has a different energy type. And everyone, the way that you need to manage your energy type, it just looks different. And so we as therapists, healers, helpers, we're constantly told that we need to regulate our other people's emotions, right? But who's teaching us how to do that? And I used to think like I just needed to hustle more or move more or do this or do that, and just to make things work. But that's not really it. That's not the case. Nothing works when your nervous system is just done. It's fried. Like, it just doesn't. And so if you're constantly on empty and just pushing through the exhaustion, ignoring your own needs, and you're just basically setting yourself up for failure. So I really had to unlearn the hustle mentality and start earning or honoring my own energy. Like, that was first and foremost more than anything. This just meant being very intentional about what my nervous system regulation looked like. And this is where human design was super helpful for me. And I would do somatic practices, and I would be very intentional and intuitive with my scheduling, because I want to put things in place that support me. And the thing is that once your nervous system becomes regulated, just things get easier. Decision making gets easier. Managing your energy gets easier. Showing up for your clients just get easier. And so when you're not feeling like you're in this uphill battle, it just gets easier. So the question here is, how are you going to take care of your nervous system right now? You're running on fumes, and it's starting to affect the things that you do daily, not just with your business and your practice, but with your family. So think about that too. Step 3, we are going to become confident, and we're going to trust ourselves. And when we do those two things, it changes. So I do know that most therapists, healers, helpers, I'm not going to say everyone, but I'm going to say most of us know that we have asked ourselves at some point, are we good enough? Or am I good enough? And I have spent years over preparing, over delivering, over explaining, just to validate if I was a good enough therapist. And part of that, I think, comes from, again, how we're taught in grad school to do things or not do things, or they just didn't give it to us. That's like part of it. Part of it too is, they tell you need to get like this certification to do this. You need this certification to do this. So we get wrapped up into I need to have all these things, certifications, again, certificates, in order to feel like we are doing the best and we are our best and we are good enough. But that's really, it becomes tiring to try to fit into some place where we think we should be versus just authentically working from who we are. And there's a difference. And then there's the piece where we don't have to be perfect therapists. We just need to be a real one. People aren't going to care where the fuck you went to school or what certificate you have or any of that. They want to know, can you do the job? Can you be the therapist or the person that they're looking for? Now, I'm not saying that if you have all these extra pieces of paper that is wrong. And yes, it's helpful because it gives you skills. It gives you understanding in certain spaces and what you're in, the type of clients that you may work with. It may help some of your clients feel comfortable that you are certified in these things. But in the end, it really doesn't matter, because in the end, it's all about your confidence and trusting yourself that you can show up for your clients and you can do it in your own unique way. So let me ask, where are you still trying to prove yourself. How are you going to begin to trust yourself again? How are you going to trust yourself more fully? And this is how you become an incredible therapist. So where are you going to do that? Step 4, we are going to rewire our mindset. This is not just about business mindset, money mindset. It's mindset as a whole, because everything that we do, there's some type of mindset behind it. And when we look at what our energetic blueprint is, it is connected to our mindset in many ways. So think about, how can you rewire mindset things around your boundaries, what success looks like, what money looks like, and it's how you were brought up with money, or how you were taught to use money. It's all different forms of energy currency. And when we're working through like our mindset shifts, this is what gives us the financial freedom, what gives us the time freedom, the energetic freedom. This is what happens. We have to be strategic and efficient in how we align our energy. Mindset is not one of those things where it's a one and done. It's something that we are constantly working on, because we've been told too many times that something is wrong, or how this could be wrong, or you're not doing this, or you're not doing that. And when you shift your mindset, when we work on our mindset, that's when things shift, because the energy shifts. Okay, the last step is step 5, and this is where accountability comes in, because change is fucking hard. I'm just going to say that. Who likes change? Because I know I have problems with that, and I know the average person does too. But let's think about it. Transformation is not easy. Fear is always creeping in and showing up. It gives us doubt. This is where imposter syndrome comes in. You know, it's that little whisper in your ear. But when we are accountable for us and what we're doing and living by those non-negotiables, this is what makes things different for us. This is why change becomes easier. And so you have to surround yourself with people who get it. You have to put yourself in the room with people who get it. And we also have to look at, like, what are you willing to break free from that is old, it's toxic paradigms, it's just what is not healthy, because you need to step away from that. But you also need to have something accountable in place through mentors, through a community or whatever, because I think if you don't take anything away from today, when we are in a community, we do so much better. People try to change alone. They try to make shifts alone. But like I said, it's fucking hard, because we're not being accountable, or we don't have anybody to hold us accountable if we can't do it for ourselves. Community becomes important, because that's what keeps everything together. This is how you're going to see the other side. It's the community that happens. So here are all the things that I have done over time. I'm not even going to put a time frame on it, because when you realize that you're working in a broken system and you start to try to figure out, what do I need to do to change that? You start making shifts, or you should start making shifts pretty quickly. And if you start looking at these different areas that I just gave you, you should be able to start making shifts very quickly and see changes. I'm just going to remind you, like, we don't have to be burnout. We don't have to keep the cycle going. We don't have to work in this broken system. If we work as a community together, then we can maybe change the entire system. We can change how things work and operate. I know that sounds like a really big, huge ask, but this is how we don't get taken advantage of. You know, I'm going to say it, BetterHelp, Care Desk, all of these platforms that is stealing information and putting it on their website, all of these fly-by-night platforms where they're offering services, but it's not necessarily quality services because they're looking at the numbers and they're not looking at what they're putting out. Think about how if we were a community and we could change just one thing, and if we work together, I think we could change that and insurance. Because those are the two places that take the most advantage of us because we started in a broken system because of what we were told in grad school. And it fucking sucks. Okay, so if you are ready for some changes, some things I want you to kind of think about, some questions I want you just to ask, and just really think about what is really holding you back. What is keeping you stuck in the system that is just not serving you? It wasn't meant to serve you in the first place. What shift do you need to start making to trust yourself right now? What are those things? That's what I want you to do today. That's what I want you to send me in the comments and let me know. That's where we start. It's not about because remember, we can't change everything all at once, but you can remember to make small shifts and small changes. Okay, so this is why I'm really excited too. Because if you haven't pulled your human design chart, I want you to make sure that you do that, because you can find out what your energetic blueprint is and you can start operating with that. And then there's also a masterclass that is attached to Burnout in human design and how you can just use human design to really help you in this space. And again, if you haven't heard me say that before, that is one of the biggest things that I think has helped me in more recent years, because I've tried it all to figure it out and just really couldn't. And then when human design showed up again in my life, because it wasn't the first time, that's when things really started to shift because I was leaning into that. The other thing is I want you to keep on your horizon is we're going to have, I'm not sure what we're going to call it, but right now the name, the Liberated Frequency Retreat. It is kind of something in my mind, how we work through this, how can we do this in person, and just a space where we can take some time and reset in a community. So that is something that I'm going to look forward to in the fall of 2025. And I'm just going to say, be on the lookout. So if this was helpful for you, I encourage you to share with a friend. Maybe you keep following for more. Listen to the public podcast that I have and just start working on yourself, because if the system is broken, then you have to fix yourself. I'll leave it there for now. Y'all have a good one. There you have it, my friends. Another episode in the books. Remember, it's okay to be a hot mess sometimes. It's all a part of the journey we call life. Until next time, stay rebellious, stay authentic, and keep embracing the beautiful messiness of life. Want to learn more about your unique energetic blueprint? Make sure you download your free chart and learn how it can help you make choices that are aligned with who you are and not who society expects you to be. Please visit ShaunaLovinLPCS.com for more information. Anything mentioned in today's episode will be linked in the show notes. And if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe, you share with a friend, leave a review, and keep coming back for more.